right. Hi people. We are now going to flip our 2020 composting effort pile for the first time. So this is a pile of sod that was handed to me, as it's my responsibility to get rid of it. And I have the perfect means to do so through this compost pile. So this I'm considering as green material, and I suppose the soil that's accompanying it is just kind of a bulk part of it. The idea with making this compost is to make soil, make rich, carbon-rich soil. So this will just kind of bulk it up. I think this is where we're going to put our new pile. Right here is where this green material is. So I want to kind of move some of it. Alright, I'll show you all what I'm starting with here. So this is sod that was given to me. This is going to be the bottom of the new pile. I've got more sod here to add. I'll wait until it gets more to the top of the pile because this is going to be so much on the bottom. And this is the pile, looking at it from the other direction, that looks like a pile of straw is actually last year's compost, and I've got straw over it to keep it from drying out. And I've got some honey locust bean pods in here in the box I'm going to be adding in. And this is our gallon, our barrel of water that I put all the dried material in. So it's all very soaked. So although I've got probably more carbon, more dried material in this pile than what probably should be in there. You can see the water as I bring it down. You see there's the water. This is all really very wet. So it being dry material doesn't mean it has to be dry in terms of being wet or dry. It's dried material as counting as mostly carbon. And I don't know if I'm going to get all of this in this pile or not. I'm going to see how it looks as I begin to turn it. Kind of use my experience. Maybe it's got too much, maybe it doesn't have enough. So we'll find out as we go. So here we go. The fun starts now. Alright, here we go. Ooh, it smells like she's working. This is the longest that I've gone ever to do the first flip. So we're looking at 4 days and maybe 15 hours now since the last flip. I guess we can get this pulled out of here. All right. As I've explained numerous times over the years, what we're doing is we're flipping the pile so that the top of this pile becomes the bottom of the new pile. Because the top, and not necessarily top, I've refined that now, that the top here is, you can see it's kind of wet. Well, it's working right here. You see the steam's even coming off of it already. Okay, so that hasn't been neglected in the process, the very top, but around the edge on the outer layer of the pile, that is dry and it's not doing the work. So there's no steam there. So that's what we want to make as the bottom of the new pile, this outer edge. What we're doing is two things. We're getting that part of the pile to get into the very center of the activity. At the same time, it's serving as new food material for the bacteria. Boy, even that's pretty darn smoky, red hot. That's a really good sign. Excellent. So I'm taking this little layer here off. right on the edge. Look at it. This pile is smoking red hot. Did you see the fork even been there? You didn't even see that. Let's get this down here a little bit. This is where I dug in here on the bottom. You can see it's smoking right here. So this thing is smoking. There. Even on the lower edge. I don't think I've ever had that happen before. I think it's because in the past I had never really used a lot of water, and I think that water is key. And they taught to use a lot of water in the PDC that I participated in way back in 2013, and it still didn't get into my head. Yeah, well, that's the way it goes, right? This is thyme. Now, there's a proponent of greenness to this thyme too. Looks like it started to come alive in the water. Been in there since Saturday, and today is Wednesday morning. So I don't know if we got that in the camera or not, but so now I've added some of the dry material here that's been soaked in water, and you can see there's even a little bit of greenness here. These are spent thyme stalks, and it looks like it's kind of reviving itself in the water. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to knock this pile down a little bit here to make some room. Look at that. Now in past years I did it on as little as 10 square foot of space. This is how I managed, is I would turn a pile, when I'd start the new pile, very close to the old pile. And of course it would quickly overcome it. What would happen is you just run out of room because you're transferring this big huge thing right next door. Well, that's not how I did it. Where I overwhelmed the pile, I would take away from the old pile to make room for the new pile. Okay, there's my first bit of fish that hasn't all totally gone, so it's working on it. Let's see if I can get some up here. It's almost all the way gone. I don't think I'm going to get it up here with that fork. Yeah, I got it. That is a piece of fish. There used to be a whole fish carcass. Now it's just a smoldering small piece. Now here's a really nice handful right here. It's mostly garlic mustard, but there's some goldenrod in it, and then there's a few wild plants that I'm not sure what they are. Nice batch. Okay. Ooh, there's a bunch of fish. Right there. Let's spread it around. Get her involved. It's decomposing very nicely. That's what it smells like too. Steamed fish. This would be a way to cook food too. You just put the pot in, put a cover, and let her go. I'll show you this. This is fermented from last year. So it's not a year old, but from last season. Those are honey locust leaves. Tree leaves oftentimes have lots and lots and lots of nutrients. This material is out of the second barrel, and I can see that's mostly jewelweed, and I can see some comfrey leaves in there. I had an overabundance of jewelweed last year because of all the rain, I think. Land is telling you we got to go grow jewelweed, then we'll grow jewelweed for the compost. It's a pretty simple formula. Use whatever is in abundance. Okay. Let's put some more of this on here. That's the perfect compost mix, but this is probably way closer, probably even over 35 to 1 because of all those wood shavings. There's a pile of fish there. Ooh, it's all just in little bitty pieces. Those little pieces will be totally gone. Next flip. There's a nice big batch of fish. All little pieces. Let's get over here to where the pile's going to be. This is going to be the center. Here, look at that. That must be those big walleyes. Oops, not just fell. Looks like I didn't even clean it. Too much meat on it. Maybe that's right there behind the head. I've been getting the green material way in the back, farthest away location in the yard. So I'm working the farthest back and I'm coming forward as we go. Here's the next batch of green material. Mostly garlic mustard again. I try to get them up, pull them out, roots and all, but I missed on some of them once in a while. And I got this plant, I showed you this last time, I can't remember what it is. I kind of kidded that maybe one of you biologists can tell me what it is. Yeah. Here's another interesting detail here, all that brown material. Look at how brown it made that water. Probably has some beneficial ingredients all on their own. Beneficial combination of ingredients. Oh, this is a pile of achira leaves. Nice and green. So that bucket is not from midsummer. This bucket is from late summer, early fall. I got them mixed up. The other one must have been the one with the honey locust leaves. Is the one from midsummer. I should have known that because that's when I pruned that tree down a little bit. Jeez. Well, if you're following me because you think I'm an expert, I guess you better unfollow me. I'm not an expert. I'm a dilettante. That's it. That's what I am. How can anybody claim that they're an expert? With all the variables that happen all the time. By the time they get to know something and call themselves an expert is when it all changes. You could take change to the bank because change is happening all the time, and we as humans try to make things normal and stable. Sometimes, most of the time, probably all the time, our efforts are only doing the opposite, speeding up change. Instead of working with change on its normal speed, we are ratcheting up how fast it happens. In other words, we're screwing ourselves. Big time. Well, we're almost to the end of our flip, and I have brown material yet to go in. I'm just going to add it next time. Everything's looking really nice. It isn't going to end next time, that's for sure. Sun side right here, kind of just slowly works its way down. There's the top, and it's got a slope here. This is what I call the angle of compost repose. Just a natural pile. However falls down, however it can stick together, you throw it at the top, and however it ends up falling, that's where it is. See, you got a cheer leaves at the top. See from the that's a nice view here with the shadows. This was the very last of what I threw on from the old pile. Let's get that box out of there so we get a little better view without having to think about a box. My last video had a lot of so-called props around the perimeter. That's because I was still working on moving things around and getting them in position. Well, now I'm pretty much done with this area. So what you see here is what I'm always going to have, I'm hoping. Now this is the shade. The north side is right here. This is the shade side. I don't cover that with the tarp as much because it doesn't get direct sunshine right on it. Now we're working around towards the east side. Morning sun isn't as intense as the afternoon sun. Well, it's probably about the same, but we've had a whole afternoon of everything drying out, so the afternoon sun is the worst when you think about it multi-dimensionally. So here we are. Now we need a tarp. Kind of throwing it into the wind that way. There. There we go. And that concludes another episode of As the Compost Turns. Alright, see you next time.